Hey, this is Rob Anspach, and welcome back to another edition of E-Heroes. For those keeping count, this is episode 333. And if you've ever wondered about Hollywood, about making films, about all the dynamics that go into film production, I actually brought on an expert who's been in Hollywood for a long time, Susannah Darcy, and we're going to talk about her. We're going to talk about film production. We're going to talk about her new venture called MVI. And we might even mention Jonathan Thompson, who I interviewed in episode 196. So, welcome, Susannah, and thanks for being here.
Wow, 333 is a great number, I have to say. It's like a master number on top of a master number.
Since I've met Jonathan long ago, and I actually helped him with the book Navigating Hollywood. A lot of things have changed, in Hollywood and film production. The changing dynamic. AI is on the scene. The writers, finally ended their strike, and they're getting back into it. But film production is different now. It's not the classic, like a lot of people think. You get a director's chair, you just say action and you go. There's so much more involved.
Agreed, very much so. Um, I live in California, um, traveled the world, love traveling. But California has been through it. It's going through an exodus. It's going through life changes. It's gone through a lot of strikes, COVID, and now the fires have just desecrated everything, everywhere, everyone.
Mhm.
So and a lot of the people that lived in Altadena and Pacific Palisades are filmmakers, actors, producers, support, higher above the line crews, kind of. Or they've lived in Altadena for many, many decades, and it's just the most beautiful areas. So, yeah, California and Hollywood are going through a very rough time as a filmmaker.
Mhm.
Um, I'm pretty lucky because I have a lot of different skill sets that I can apply.
Mhm.
During COVID, I went and worked in Budapest, and in fact, it was during my stint in Budapest that I decided I really wanted to form a different company for myself and really started looking at those aspects of it. Um, but yeah, in answer to your question, it's a interesting time, and AI right now, as we talked earlier, is taking over everything in so many support places.
Oh, yeah.
They cannot take over a creative. They
Right.
cannot take over the living emotion. That'll always be. But yeah, there's a lot, and it's moving faster than we can keep our hands on.
For me, AI has been a great tool, but it's just a tool. And I
Mhm.
think that everybody needs to realize that it's not a be all thing. It's not going to change how films are made. It may enhance them. It may, you know, uh, give the writers more time to think, give them structure.
Structure. I was gonna say
But
structure.
it's not going to make an actor act differently.
Mm-mm.
Yes, they say, hey, we want you to just read the script and don't ad lib. But you and I both know that the ad libs become the best quotes ever in most films.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can't take that away. When an actor is there present, it's the character that's gonna breathe, not the words.
Right.
You know?
And it's not always the actors that we know. Actors will be replaced over time. My favorite's always been Clint Eastwood,
Mm.
but he's getting up there in age, and so we have to look at new actors. And there for a while, for me, it was Christopher Lambert from Highlander.
Yeah.
But again, the older I get, the older they get, and some of these newer actors, I don't even know who they are. You know,
Well, Timothy Chalamet is mine right now. He's amazing, just in his dedication.
Mhm.
He's gonna be the new. kind of Robert Redford and, that kind of breadth of work that he can do. I almost think some of the younger actors now are more well-versed like they used to be in the studio days.
Mhm.
My father was in the studios, came up as he was an actor in Europe, but came into the studios with 20th Century Fox.
Mm.
But they train them to dance, they train them to sing, they train the comedic timing, they tap dancing,
Mhm.
etiquette, how to be in public, all of that. I think it's almost starting to go back towards that,
Yeah.
where we're having a little bit of class.
Well, and some of these actors that they don't know anything but how to act, and I'm not saying that they're not great at what they do, but like you said, most of them now, well, not most of them, a few of them, go the extra mile. They learn tap dancing, they learn dancing. Hugh Jackman, I mean, he's I think a year or 2 older than I am, and I'm 56, and he's out there, dancing and singing and performing, but everybody just knows him as Wolverine.
Yeah.
He does a lot more than just, comic book heroes.
He did Wolverine, but there was that one scene where he just talks to, Deadpool, and it was just them in the car.
Mhm.
And I went to the Producers Guild breakfast, and they had mentioned that about just how great of a scene that was. But that scene alone wouldn't have ever given him an Oscar, I don't think. But it was brilliant, the depth, you know.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I know, and, when I was a kid, you would never see an R-rated superhero movie. It just
no,
wasn't
no,
just wasn't, appropriate.
right. Well,
But,
now kids sneak
eh
into those all the time. Yeah, I never was able to sneak into an R-rated film when I was a kid. I tried.
but, now it's becoming more acceptable, and I think because of the European influence that's coming over, to them, R-rated is every day. Over here, it wasn't. I don't think until about the '90s.
You know, the during COVID, we got an amazing opportunity to see the world filmmakers.
Mhm.
Really see a lot of Finnish films or Turkish films or, anywhere, Croatia. But I have to say that the films that are coming out of some of those countries are, br one, the acting is breathtaking, the scenery is breathtaking, and the scripts are brilliant. I mean, you're looking at what they're doing. Now, I've worked in Europe a lot, and it's like there's a reason there's OSHA, there's a reason there are unions. It's because, forget about not being able to drive a car
Right.
because, it's a lead actor. No, these guys are doing their own stunts sometimes.
Yeah,
And and they don't wait for weather, which I think I've always wondered about that because for me, that's what the scene is about. Like, there's a cloud coming, how many times have you had to stop? And I'm like, no, let it go. Let it
mhm,
be natural. Let it be organic. And I think that's now what's happening more and more. It's okay, it's weather. There's a cloud, it's sun, there's a cloud. It does make a little bit sometimes I started my career as a script supervisor, so it can drive you a little batty sometimes, but it makes for the right kind of emotion in a script.
mhm.
So,
Yeah, and I've been looking at some of the TV shows lately, and I just feel that when we didn't have streaming shows, when we didn't have Netflix, we didn't have Disney Plus, we didn't, we were, the old time TVs with 13 channels. The
mhm,
quality of shows was better.
mhm.
The quality of the entertainment, the acting, the comedic timing was better. Now it just seems like they're just pump and dump all this streaming stuff out there, and
Well,
it just, it drives me nuts.
the reason for that is they don't give themselves enough time for rehearsal. I don't know if anyone's seen the, Haunting of Hill House, the original, the first one.
Mm,
There's a scene that's brilliant that takes place in the time of a viewing of a casket, and I'm not gonna give it away, but I'm watching the scene and I'm like, "Wow, what is going on here?" And you don't recognize it, and
right,
I've stopped and I pulled back and I started again from the beginning. It's one scene. It's choreographed. It's people walking in and out of frame. It's young people in the frame, oh, then taking place with their older selves. It's ghosts coming in and out of the frame. It is a brilliant. That whole sequence is like I looked at it, I thought, "Wow, the rehearsal that took to do that was I really appreciated." And in fact, at one point, you see one of the actors slide in, and, you'd only catch it if you know what to be looking for, but you could see him kinda slide into the shot,
Mhm,
because they had to move very quickly. But I thought, "Wow, they gave time to rehearse." When my dad was acting, he said that they would rehearse for weeks, a scene, so it all worked together. Now they do that on musicals, but not so much in acting, and I think that's such an important part. I think Quentin Tarantino does it. He does spend time rehearsing, you know, but you don't get that, and that's to me is just brilliant to take that time.
yeah, it's and what I've been seeing from you and Jonathan Thompson, you guys take time. You get to know the people that you're doing business with,
Yeah.
and, I think that makes a difference. And when you have the experience of time and past films, you know how to deal with the actors, the writers, the directors, the producers, everybody in between, and you have the patience. Plus, you know where to film.
Yeah, and, Jonathan and I met on I was looking for funding for a, very iconic script that we had bought,
Mhm,
my old partner and and I had met him just once, and he was in a car, and I remember thinking, "How do I get this film funded? How do I get this film funded?" And I had not really known how to do it, and I asked permission, and a lot of people don't ask permission, but I asked permission from the person that connected me, and I said, "Would you mind if I share this project with Jonathan? And of course, if anything comes about it, I'll give you a finder's fee." And he's like, "No, no, no, like, yeah, absolutely." And Jonathan called me right back, like within the same day. And we became very quick friends. Um, Jonathan and I think very similarly and yet different. We hold at different aspects of things. And the "I got your back" mentality I've seen with our team members because we're not just building a movie studio. We're building, we have a slate of films and television projects. We have a gaming studio and we're building an anime studio. So the people that we've brought together as a team, I've never seen anything like it anywhere. I've never seen so many people want the same things,
mhm,
so many people, learning to adapt to personalities, learning to learn on certain things. Like, okay, I don't know all that, but teach me.
mhm,
Absolutely, and it's such an incredible you know, social way of building, a studio, and I'm like, we're building an enterprise,
mhm.
that's so quick, so I'm excited, and Jonathan and I have, like, we have a good sense of humor. You need
Well, we all need sarcasm in our lives. It's I've toured some of the studios over in Hollywood. I've toured at Universal. I've toured Warner Brothers, and these are the backlot stuff. And so there's history there. I mean,
Mhm.
lots of history. And I look at that and I think, wow, new Hollywood, I don't think has any reverence to what they have, and or they're always copying. They want to reboot something. Man, how many times can you reboot the Fantastic Four? I mean, I love the comics, but seriously, and Spider-Man, and it's always the same ones, and Batman, and it's like, come up with new stuff, people, please.
Or the misfits of that. That's the other part that they do, the ones that have no power, but they're part of it.
Yeah, and I think that most people think, oh my God, Hollywood, it's a money churning thing, and most people don't realize is that your studios, MVI. The legitimate studios are not always in it for the money. They're in it to be able to produce stories that sell, or to tell an adventure, or to give people more than just, "Hey, hand me over your money." It's
That's one thing we actually, when we started this company, excuse me, we both, Jonathan and I both decided, what is it? How much do we need to make a year to be okay? To not have to worry about what's going in, what's going out. And we both came up with the same figure, close to, and said, okay, what we've done is we've built ourselves a salary,
mhm,
and everything else goes back to the investors, and everything goes back into the company
mhm,
until everyone is whole. And the other thing we decided to do is just create in within that is a nonprofit, a small one.
mhm,
So, we want to give back. And our films are smart. They're they're marketable. That's the one thing that a lot of people don't look at. And I'm not trying to generalize, but
right,
people have a great idea, and some of them are great ideas, but they don't plan out what's next.
mhm,
So, and I have friends that have gotten funding like in the millions of dollars, and they make the film, and now the film is in debt,
mhm,
and they don't know how to get it out. And I'm thinking, well, did you not think about that? No, I was so excited I got the money. I said, okay, so you had no exit plan for the film. And if a film is made a year or 2 years ago, unless there's a good reason why it's not for sale, people look at it going, "Oh, that's, 2023. Oh, I don't want 2023. I want 2025." You know? And you need to think about that as you're moving forward. You need to think about all that marketing that goes in from day one. Even, pre-planning. If you have a really good film, you're pre-planning months and ahead for that marketing that pulls it forward. So when you do get to the festivals, they're like, "Where's that film? I want to talk to those guys." You're not making appointments; they're making appointments with you.
and I think George Lucas set the precedent, you know, back in the '70s for Star Wars. He would market this thing years in advance. I mean, you start getting teasers, almost a year before the movie even broke, and
Hmm.
people are like, "What is this? What's going on? What is this sci-fi thing? What is Star Wars?" And 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 every concurrent movie he put out there, it was always marketed a whole year in advance. And I think a lot of studios forget that. You know, they think, "Oh my God, we'll just do it a couple weeks in advance." No, you gotta keep marketing it. So, you talk about an exit, but a lot of times there's no entrance.
Right.
They just
You're
throw the
absolutely right.
movie out and hope people will show up.
No, you're absolutely right. And ground roots marketing is a really great way of getting independent films out there. Um, I have a funny story about George Lucas. Spent a week at Francis Ford Coppola's house up in Napa Valley, and I got to go in the vat of grapes because they were pulling all the grapes for Francis Ford Coppola's vineyard.
Mm.
Yeah, George Lucas, Francis, and I were all in the grapes, just smashing grapes. It's so much fun. It was really cool. I mean, George and Francis were really good friends, so it was a lot of fun.
And what's
My,
it like though to be in the company of these greats?
um, they're normal people. My first film, I started, as an actress before I went into production, and my dad was an actor. He was in like the old famous films of How to Marry a Millionaire and Topper Takes a Trip and Soldier of Fortune, which is an incredible film. Um, I was cast in Rumblefish, and one of the lead actors was chasing me, and I was really like, "Please," so I kind of went to Francis as a father figure, like, "Please protect me," because I knew enough to know that I was, alone. And Francis kind of took me under his wing, and we got to be really good friends really fast. And then he just invited me up to his place. They were bringing a bunch of people up, and would you like to come? And I went, and I became friends with Roman, and then years later, I actually was up for a Sofia Coppola, short, but they took so long to make a decision. Ended up taking Martha Stewart Living Television. I
Mm,
was her line producer, so I moved to Connecticut, but it was kind of funny, and I still love the man. He's being honored by AFM this year.
wow.
So, but yeah, it's fun.
So let's talk about we mentioned the MVI just a little bit, but you know, you met Jonathan, you created this new studio, and you have, you know, great core values. You know, what are some of the projects that you're seeking?
Well, that's a very good question. It's, I would say, 2 to threefold. The first films that we're seeking are lower budget films that, horror always plays well, but not like slash and grab. And I was joking with our risk mitigator in Scotland the other day, and I was like, hey, I want to look at this horror film because it's ready to go. We have all the talent. And he goes, well, does it involve a deserted road? And I'm like, actually, it does. And it was really funny because it's true. It's like most horror films are a cabin in the woods or a road somewhere, and we were just laughing. But, clever. And this particular one, unfortunately for privacy, I can't really mention them, but um, clever, somebody that put thought into it, that has, a legend. This one has a legend.
Mhm,
And you also want to look at when you're doing films, things that are going to sell. So I always look at a film, what can I do with it? Can I sell this? I look at standing in front of a sales agent. Okay, this is going to play very well. We have one based off of a book.
mhm,
That's a very renowned book that takes place in Europe. And so automatically it's gonna do better in the European countries, and then I thought, "Okay, how do you bolster that energy of it being in Europe?" You're gonna add actors to it that'll even carry over into the other markets. And, domestic markets are powerful, but they're powerful in different ways, whereas the foreign can bring you your money back,
mhm,
plus, so that's one of the things we really look at. Um, Also, who's attached to it? If we have an attachment to it that brings in those viewerships, nowadays it really is about who's attached.
mhm,
What kind of actors are there? Um, that's one side of it. The other side of it is we take a jump from under the $5 million films up to the $20 million films. And the $20 million films, we're very careful about because we're looking for franchisable films, films that will, or Oscar nomination films. Like we have one film that's been a project of mine for 4 years that I think is Oscar worthy eventually. It's got the teeth to it,
mhm,
that can do worldwide box office. So you look at it with a different lens. Um, and then the other thing is, we also have a bigger aspect of just a film slate. We have a gaming company. So we look at when we bring these films in, can they also be utilized as a game?
mhm,
How do they function? Does it make sense? We'll talk to we have our partners in the gaming world that have done incredible games, that we say, what do you think about this? Is this something that we can collateralize? And they're like, absolutely, or no, but it could do this. There was one instance where we had a film and everybody said, no, it won't make that film. It won't make that game.
mhm,
And I was like, "Well, hold on one second. What about this?" And I generated an educational game.
mhm,
And that, when you look at that, you're now thinking out of the box. And that's something that we are all open to. Like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. And then we also now have this anime division that we're working on that, can it pull in? And then how do we bring it back? We put it out, but how are we certain to bring that money back? Because ultimately we have investors.
mhm,
And it's the investors that, again, I've done $30 million live events. What's really important is the money that supports that.
mhm,
And I call them like sponsorship dollars. So in a sense, our investors are sponsors.
mhm,
So you need to make them feel of value. You need to let them know that their money is of value. and you need to know that they're gonna get added value back,
Mhm.
um, in many different ways. So that's one of our collective mindset, and we all agree with that, which is amazing.
One of the things that really impressed me with you and Jonathan is that you're always having the investor in mind, that got your back mentality, and you want to make sure that they're paid back as soon as possible, and also you give them that value that they want to keep investing year after year after year, or project after project, and it was just like I said, it goes back to, it's not really about the money, it's about providing a bigger, better solution,
Yeah,
and to me that's impressive.
and bringing back different revenue streams. It's not just one, you know, we're not just saying, "Hey, you're gonna make money back on a film." We're saying, "Hey, you're gonna make money, come invest with us. You're making money over here, over here, over here, and you're being part of it."
Yeah, yeah, and but yeah, let's we have a few minutes left. Let's talk about film festivals.
Mhm.
It used to be that you go to these film festivals and that's your biggest source of you know I don't know, I can't say gratitude, but you know uh yeah, you win an award, or something there, or and it helps elevate. But is that the best resource? Is social media, or even getting these influencers, does that help better?
That is a very good question. We've actually researched that. I've researched that. I know of a man who's funded films just on bringing influencers into the film, and he's actually sold to the streamers because of the influencers, you
Mhm.
know? They don't act very well, but the streamer didn't care about that because of the amount of energy that would go from an influencer to the streamer.
Right,
It would drive possibly new memberships. "Oh, so and so, AB is over there. I'll go watch that film. Oh, I don't have a streamer membership, but, for 4.99 or 9.99, I'll do it."
right.
It's a very smart marketing tactic, for the certain right kind of projects, you know?
Yeah,
Uh,
'cause it used to be, "Hey, this actor is attached to this film," and that would sell. Now it's like, "Oh, this influencer is attached to the marketing," and that sells even better.
yeah, yeah, and these influencers, I've met some of them in the gaming world. They're 18 years old and they get $60,000 to come to an event, you know?
Crazy.
It's
It's a
bigger than
whole
the
different
budget of
world.
the booth. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so okay, how do people find you? Where do they go?
LinkedIn is probably the best way. My name at LinkedIn, Susanna Darcy. That would probably be the best way, or through you. Um,
And then
personally,
they
right
can
now,
find you on what, MVI
yep, they
dash
can go
media.com.
mvi-media.com. Personally, I'm not taking any new submissions at the moment, unless, with a caveat, there is relevant actors attached and some equity attached. I can help you. But right now, I still owe a read on 3 or 4 scripts, and I need help doing that, but yeah, it's been busy. So, at a certain
Well,
point, you'll be going through my
and
director.
for those that before we end, for those that are curious about film production, Suzanne and I actually wrote a book called Anatomy of Film Production, and you can get it on the MVI. I'm losing my voice.
Yeah, I've
You
read
can get it
about
on the
it.
MVI site, and yeah, it's what, about 175 pages, and it details everything you ever wanted to know, but were afraid to ask, or did ask, and you never got the right answer. So it's all there.
It is. And on, February 20th, we're doing a panel on anatomy of production, through one of our partners in Atlanta, and Rob, you and I should put something up on the website about that, because it's just gonna be a webinar all about the anatomy of production, so
Yeah, there's just a lot to learn, and like I said at the very beginning, it's not about just getting excuse me.
yeah, there's a lot to experience, not just learn. I think that's where that's why we did it, is because 'cause we've experienced so much, and, so much of that experience has gone south, and you learn how to bring it back, you
Mhm.
know, so
But it all comes back to know, like, and trust and feel safe with. And and I think that's exactly what MVI is doing, not only with their uh, film production, but for their investors, for everybody who works with MVI in some way, shape, or form.
Mhm.
It's that trust. It's we feel safe, you know, and I think more film production companies, more uh, and the thing is, your MVI is more than just a film production company. Like you said, it's anime, it's gaming, it's publishing, it's the whole gamut.
Marketing,
And
merchandising, we have merchandising agreements in
yeah,
place, you know? We have, distribution pathways on anime, we have distribution pathways on gaming, we have distribution pa on it's yeah, and, we're very we're very new, so
and it's getting out there. The name's getting out there, and people are interested. And you can follow along on LinkedIn,
yep,
and it's just I've just been impressed, and the things are just moving incredibly quick, and people trust you and Jonathan,
yeah,
and
and I would say that's one of the most important things that I think that trust comes from, "I've got you."
mhm,
I know what I'm doing. I know you're gonna live and breathe somebody's project. You know, when I read a script, I'm very honest about it because I know how it's like it's like birthing a baby.
mhm,
You really are spending so much of your time. So for me to read it, I need to be quiet and calm and take it all in.
mhm,
And I think that's why it's so important. I'm not just reading a script. I'm experiencing the script and I'm looking at it and seeing it through the eyes of the writer. And I'm very visual that way, and I can see if this film's gonna make sense, and, it comes from years of being a director of acquisitions. You learn how to see through the lens of a cinematographer, you know? So,
yeah, like you said, it comes back to experience. So
yeah. I will be at Cannes right now, so I'm planning on going to the Cannes Film Festival. So,
I was in southern France in October, and it was amazing. I like the area.
no, yeah,
It's just but, I took my mother-in-law for her 80th birthday, so it was a little different and a
yeah.
lot of walking. So,
Wow, wow. Yeah. Cannes is unique. I grew up there part of my life. My father was French Egyptian, so he went back to Nice and lived in Cannes, and
yeah, we were in Nice, we were in Ez, we were in, some of the areas all around there. In fact, and then we went over to Toulouse to Toulouse, and then
yeah,
also Lourdes, and so, it's just a nice area.
historical.
Yeah,
So
I mean, for all those listening, if you get a chance, go to Nice. I mean, it's an experience.
And,
And
when they lived in Nice
Hmm,
when they lived in Nice,
yeah,
yeah,
with that, I wanna wish everybody, get over to the MVI site, check it out. Then we'll
MBI.
see you guys on the next episode. Adios.
Thank you, Rob, for having me. This was wonderful.
See ya.